Welcome back to No Nostalgia Filter. I'm Angelo.
I'm Rob.
And today we're filtering the Ubisoft E3 press conference.
So I've never been to an E3. Angelo is actually a games journalist and has been to these things.
7 years.
Apparently, Ubisoft's press conferences are notoriously weird and awkward.
Yeah, so the conference started and a bunch of clowns and a giraffe and a lion and people dressed like candy canes and some guy with a big paper collar and Aisha Tyler and
they were dancing.
They all danced.
They were dancing so much it made Angelo's voice do this.
Lightning bolts were around.
They were purple.
And so it starts and I'm like, okay, I get it. Aisha Tyler and the whole thing, they're playing it up. They're like, we get that we're awkward, so we're just gonna take it.
We're just gonna have a lot of fun being really, really awkward.
And for a while I was like, okay, that's gonna make it better.
For a while it did make it better. And not that I have a basis of comparison, but I thought the self-referential humor was funny.
Yeah, and then it became Ubisoft again. So all this dancing shit, it was for Just Dance. And their entire spiel for Just Dance was, Just Dance exists!
Yeah,
it was an excuse to make a lion dance at you.
Yeah, it was just, they didn't really talk about the game.
They didn't show us any gameplay, they didn't talk about it.
There were things in the background that may or may not have been scenes from the game, or from the previous game, or what the fuck.
But basically it's just Dance exists. You're gonna get more of it.
We're just dancing.
Yeah, that's it.
Right now, that's all we're doing, dancing.
And that was it for that. Then Aisha Tyler talked about her girl boner and how masculine she was.
which is slightly, apparently.
Yeah, slightly masculine. I'm not saying this as a watcher. They made an important point of pointing this out.
Yeah, no, she
between every freaking single...
I think she was trying to reclaim internet flame. Because, of course... Whenever anyone remotely female stands up in front of gamers, they have to, talk about her appearance a lot, I bet.
Don't know where I am right now. So then they finally got into the games.
We're in your apartment. We're on your couch.
Maybe. Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Okay, so... Alright, so apparently how this goes, we're gonna make a game, they said. We're gonna make a game, and it's gonna be about fighting against, Colombian?
Specifically, they were like, we're gonna make a game about the drug trade in Bolivia.
Bolivia, that was it. And then someone was like, I don't know, is that a little racist? Are we doing the Resident Evil thing? And someone was like, no, guys, I got this. It's not going to be racist, because the actual villain is Mexican.
That just makes it work. Look, okay, the gameplay, to talk about the game, because I believe that it is important to talk about the actual game, the gameplay was the most casual, the most casual, agents do stuff. That was all it was. They were on in a helicopter and on a motorcycle and killing people. It's like, well, that guy's dead. Well, I'm coming up this way. Well, that's happening. Okay. They even have there's fucking the subtitle was Ghost Recon Wildlands. I'm still not
convinced that the voices we were hearing were actual in-game voice acting. I still think they recorded some 4-player co-op and then just had some voice actors talk over that, sort of pretending to be...
Sure, let's just go with that. They had one thing that I found really interesting was in the beginning you had the narration from this drug cartel He was talking about like if you stand with me, I will feed you, I will protect you, I will change your life, I will this or that, and just these sweeping camera angles of like these coca fields, and of like drug deals and stuff, and it builds this really interesting world with this really interesting antagonist. He's like tattooed, but he's in a business suit. He like looks out over this empire, and for a while you're like, wow, I really want to know more about this character. And then it switches to...
Yeah, then we cut to the good guys who are like, yeehaw!
Yeah, it's a guy with shades and a trucker hat and a long-ass beard and a t-shirt, an ill-fitting t-shirt, and a helicopter shooting things up with machine guns. It was basically like, here's all this interesting plot development, but fuck that! America! We're gonna come in and blow shit up, because that's what we do in America! It's
well, technically, we don't do that in America.
No,
we do that in everyone else's countries.
It's just,
that's what we do from America.
The game just looks like your standard open world shooter. There's cars, there's guns, there's drugs, there's stealth combat. There's a bunch of Breaking Bad references. It's Ghost Recon. I hate to say this because I've said this a lot during these podcasts, but you already know what you're getting into. If you like this sort of game, if you like Ghost Recon, if you like Tom Clancy shit, you'll like this. If not, it's not your deal.
It looked like four-player co-op, stealth plus action shooty thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
it looks good for a Ghost Recon game.
And the bad guys are super bad because they sell cocaine and dissolve corpses.
Yeah. Not much
like
more
with acid. It's not magic.
Not much more we could say about that. Once again, if you like this sort of open world shooty game, you'll probably like this. Then they went on to South Park: The Fractured Butthole.
That's fractured but whole. like butt only has one T, but of course, you fractured your butthole.
It's the next South Park RPG. This time they're doing superheroes.
They did a cool thing with like a trailer that I thought like, are they doing a Judge Dredd thing? It was like crime everywhere is rising. It was like a very dramatic trailer. And then, the South Park guys come out and they're like, yeah, we went into Premiere and said, create cool trailer. This is what it spat out.
The game looks pretty cool, to be totally honest.
Yeah, it's
the new battle system is tactical. It's grid based, which I thought was really cool.
Right.
It was turn based in the last one. It was like Super Mario RPG ish. This one feels more tactical. Feels more. Actually, you know what it feels like? It feels like Live Alive.
Huh.
Which is a bizarre throwback.
Yeah. I was going to Banner Saga.
No, it seems kind of more Live Alive-ish.
Okay.
And another interesting thing is, the story is the old South Park RPG ends and everyone gets tired of playing in Lord of the Rings fantasy and starts doing superheroes, but they can't agree on their movie setup, like who gets what movie.
And in which order.
Yeah, and in which order. So then it causes them to have like a Marvel Civil War.
Token's like, can I have a movie in phase 1? And Cartman's like, no, we can't put the black guy in phase 1. We put the real people in phase 1.
That's what he said, not us.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is Eric Cartman being racist.
At the end, they were just like, you want to make a Civil War out of this? Like, yeah, fuck you, Civil War. And that's all it is.
Isn't the Civil War supposed to be in phase 3? Shut up, Tweet. So, the trailer was certainly very funny.
And the gameplay looked really cool, too. Like, it's all about shuffling turn order, customizing your character, customizing your superpowers. South Park: The Stick of Truth was really fun for a South Park game. This looks like it's going to be really fun. I mean, it's going to be another, 16-hour South Park episode. So, strap in for a 16-hour South Park episode if that's your thing. If it's not your thing, you're not going to like it, because it's just going to be that sort of humor for 16 hours. But if that's your thing, this is going to be a lot of fun. So, that's a thing I was excited about. Then they went on to Tom Clancy's The Division Underground. We already talked about this in, I believe it was the EA conference, or maybe it was the Microsoft conference. I don't know where I am right now.
You're in your apartment. We're on your couch.
So, it's the same, expansion pack. Once again, if you like The Division, you'll like this. But then they random levels, constantly generating content, so that's cool. Then they announced Tom Clancy's The Division Survival,
which seems like less like an expansion and more like less like a classic expansion thing and more like a different game mode.
Yeah, something like Far Cry Blood Dragon or something like that, with a different character and
it sounds more resource based, like you have to find food and water, so it's snowing a lot, so I would think finding heat would be enough to get water. And stay warm, and fight looters. So that seemed kind of that seemed like something that could interest people who weren't already playing the original game.
The Division. Actually, I was I played The Division, it was alright. This seemed like it was a big departure from the original.
And it's not like they're going to take the original out.
No,
it's not a replacement. It's a new
you're still
going to
get the shooting, you're still going to get the stealth, you're still going to get the cooperative gameplay.
Too.
But this becomes more man versus elements than man versus man, which I thought was really interesting.
Just the one thing I liked about that one Batman movie was snow in a ruined city.
And that's basically all
This is what this is, right? It's the city, and it's snowing. It's snowing real bad.
So then they took a break to talk about VR for a while.
They're VR games.
And this is where I think I broke.
It got awkward because there's a game called Eagle Flight, and Angelo was like, "Oh, are they doing a VR flight simulator?" And I'm like, "Yes, but it sounds like you're literally an eagle."
I'm gonna be honest here. First of all, you are. Second of all, it's still like a combat sim. It's just that to kill each other, the eagles scream at each other.
Yeah, they scream sonic bursts at each other.
And that causes the same eagle sound effect to be played basically on repeat throughout the whole match.
And of course, it's not an eagle. It's that one red-tailed hawk cry that gets played for every bird of prey sound in every piece of media since 1987.
It's
over and over and over again.
And the game looks kind of cool. The idea is all humans are dead, as you do, and you're flying at high speeds around ruined, humanity. Picking up shit and putting it in your nest.
Yeah.
And as other people try to scream you to death. And the graphics...
That's what eagles do with their prey. Yeah. They carry the rabbit back to their nest. That's how they do that.
Yeah, sure. Also, the graphics look like ass. And it's a VR game. So if you have motion sickness, this is going to kill you. This struck me as being on a roller coaster. It was so fast.
Yeah, and ugly. By the end of this press conference, I was convinced that VR had was such a strain on the graphics engine that it was like you were back on the Nintendo 64. And then it occurred to me, I've seen other VR games, what, Eve Valkyrie?
Yeah.
The one I'm thinking of? Looked gorgeous.
Yeah, no, this just looks like ass because it looks like ass. I mean, It looked fun. It's just, why birds? Why this? Why is this happening? Where am I?
And also, Star Fox 1 called, they want their 5 polygons back.
Oh yeah, like the eagles don't look like eagles, they look blocky. They look specifically Star Foxy. I don't know. Who wanted this game? Who was
that happened a lot here.
What
it's
kid,
like,
yeah.
who ordered this?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, okay.
It's not even like it's bad. Like, that's the problem. There's so few things here that I want to say looked bad. They just looked, why? You know, like, why is this a thing? Why is this eagles screaming at each other? Especially because, like, we have Valkyrie and we have other good flight sim games. You know? I don't know. Next one. Star Trek.
Alright, so they got a bunch of Star Trek actors to come play this game where you are in VR as a Star Trek flight crew. Does this seem like a bad choice for VR to anybody else? Like, you know, VR is like, it's about being super immersive and you're in the action. So they used it to make a game where you're sitting on a bridge pushing buttons. It was like I don't know, couldn't this be a tablet game?
Well, here's the thing. I actually thought that the VR experience was kind of cool. Like, I think that if you're all, well, here's the big problem though. If it's on the internet, right? That could be kind of interesting. Like, that's what, you know, what VR is cool, but I don't know anyone who's going to have that many headsets in, like, a local multiplayer setup. You know, that's like $3,000 worth of headsets. So it's probably going to be on the internet, which is, like, cool, you know, like, I'll deal.
But then it turns out that your captain is Angelo, and he spends the entire mission talking about butts.
Yeah. The Final Fantasy V character. So yeah, I don't know.
Like, start.
I guess you know.
Captain's log. Stardate dick.
I guess it's kind of cool that everybody has their own station, and you know, you have to accomplish missions. And I've played other indie games like that, which were cool. So I'm sure this would be cool. But the graphics looked like ass again.
Yeah, it's the
not like it looked like it would be a really cool start. Like, I'm a Star Trek nerd. It looked like it would be a pretty cool Star Trek experience, but the graphics looked like ass. Like the hands and stuff and the screens, they look like that ass, not just because Star Trek looks like ass, but like they look like an ass version of the already ass looking Star Trek from Star Trek.
You're right. They were going retro. This seems to be set, you know, vaguely contemporary with original series. And they brought back the ugly $10 polyester original series uniforms. And then updated the ship model. Like, this Federation ship has jet turbines on the front of its warp nacelles. Like, that's not how space do.
I guess I do want to see this. I do want it to be good, but it looked so bad, and
LeVar Burton had a lot of fun.
Yeah, LeVar Burton had a lot of fun. I guess once again the gameplay made me go, why? You know? Like who really wants to be just tapping on, like, and it did look like the blinking lights fucking console it looked like TNG. It looked like the next gen.
Yeah, the consoles look TNG, because the consoles from original series had like mechanical switches and shit, and would have looked embarrassingly retro.
But like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be bad, but it just seems like a combination of stuff. It's not here's a good way to put it. It's not something that I'm gonna buy an $800 VR headset for.
Yeah. Not that we have $800.
Right. It's not something that I would have my work give me an $800 headset for. So after that, we got to For Honor. And For Honor was one of my picks of the show last year. It was this really cool shooter style, except it was all melee, like co-op game mode that was knights versus Vikings versus samurai. And they said that they were going to add more classes, but apparently it's just those three. And I was really excited about that.
At the very least, they only have 3 factions.
Yeah.
If they added more classes, it was like within those 3 factions.
This trailer and this gameplay showcase made me less excited. And I played this demo at last E3, and I loved it. But now they're talking about the story, and the story was like...
kind of dumb.
Dumb. Basically what happens is some, I don't know, godly force makes the world break apart.
Yeah, inexplicable magic catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got this medieval swords and horses setting got a apocalypse.
Yeah, got an apocalypse, and it brought these 3 cultures of the world together.
And then they had a war.
Yeah, and then they had a war
for
because
1,000 years.
Yeah, the idea basically is there was limited resources, and they started fighting about those resources, and they never stopped, so technology had never evolved. Which is like the opposite of how it actually
Yeah,
is.
no, that doesn't... That's... Right, no, that's not...
Yeah, like technology evolves because we use it to blow people up, sadly.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a Apotheon or something like that, or Apollyon.
At first we thought they were calling her Napoleon.
Yeah, but she's this goddess who like lurks in the shadows, and whenever it looks like they're gonna have a truce, she like fires an arrow at someone, they get angry, and there's no truce.
Yeah, just because, even though none of them have bows. Just cuz.
Yeah, it's basically just...
Like... So they went and did like, oh, we're gonna have an epic backstory for our world at war, and the backstory is war, cuz.
and then they showed gameplay, and it looks like they scaled back the cool one-on-one duel gameplay and made it more Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, I was gonna say you started describing it, I was like, I was seeing more of a Dynasty Warriors thing here.
And like, I really loved the one-on-one duel gameplay. I loved the sort of capture the flag, weird sort of, military commander thing. Now it just looks like a standard hack and slash. I mean, you can still get into duels, but now it looks like the duels are scripted. It used to be that the duels took place with just people fighting around you, and you had to adapt, and that was cool. Now you just sort of like swing your axe and people die, and then eventually you get to a scripted duel. And
it's not, the gameplay looks very Dynasty Warriors until you meet a named opponent, and then it's kind of switches into this duel mechanic, and it's not scripted like press X to not die. They still had a actual gameplay engine.
Yeah, it's the same system from last year. Like, you take one of 3 stances, and if someone swings at that stance, you parry. Otherwise, you don't. And if you press an attack button from that stance, you do an attack from that stance. And light attacks open up your opponent, and heavy attacks do damage. And the idea is that you want one heavy attack will generally kill someone. So it's supposed to be like actual sword fights. Like you fuck around a bit until you land one clean blow. And once again, that was really fun last year, but it seems like that's a footnote now. And that makes the whole game, like, it has gone from being my pick of the show last year to just being, I don't know, I guess, We'll have to see. I signed up for the alpha. We'll see if the gameplay's still there. You can sign up for the alpha too. forhonor.ubisoft.com. Let's hope, And there was Grow Up. I was in a ball at this point, so Rob has mostly seen it, but it's a sequel to Grow Home.
You've got a cute little robot, and he's using acrobatic plant growing tricks to go to the moon. And all I can think of is, this is way less cool than the last time I went to the moon. However, there was less crying. Though Angelo was crying, there was still less crying.
I mean, it looks alright. if you played Grow Home, you'll like this. The big cool thing is that the robot can transform this time.
Yeah, so you've got flying around like a plane.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's the same goddamn game. It's just a sequel. So, next, Trials of the Blood Dragon. So, if you're aware of Trials HD, it's a game about a motorcycle that goes through stunt courses. If you're aware of Far Cry Blood Dragon, it's about a game where you play a painfully 80s protagonist in a painfully 80s sci-fi world shooting people up. Someone, somewhere, decided that these two should have a baby. So they did.
2 babies, apparently. I'm one game, but there's 2 characters who are literally the kids.
And so the game is you're in the Blood Dragon universe and you steal a motorcycle and you do cool stuff.
It wasn't a motorcycle, it was like a BMX bike.
A BMX bike. You do cool stuff. You shoot the bad guys with your lasers, pew pew, and they are dinosaurs.
And you go around the loop.
And the people presenting it came out in meat suits.
They were like just fabric bodysuits. They didn't go full gaga. The fabric bodysuits that were patterned to look like beef. It was weird.
Why? It didn't even have anything to do with the game. Why are you doing this, Ubisoft? So anyway, if you like Trials, you'll like this, okay? It's more Trials. It's more Trials and it's 80s aesthetic. That's all it is. Play it. Next. Then they talked about the Assassin's Creed movie.
Which,
They didn't talk about a new Assassin's Creed.
No, there's nothing about a game. Probably because they're out of continents to kill science on.
They're out of continents, so they poop themselves.
Yeah. Being incontinent, they seem to have shat out a movie.
Where? All they did was show us the trailer. Sure, it was a cool-looking trailer. It had Michael Fassbender in it, but whatever.
In what boardroom is there a business plan that says, "Hey, let's turn this video game series into a movie"? That always works.
So we saw the movie, and here's the thing: they didn't reveal shit about the plot. We know the plot of Assassin's Creed, but I don't think that Michael Fassbender is actually supposed to be Desmond. I don't actually think that they're following any of the old assassins. So it's basically just here's some stunts. Look at these stunts. Like these stunts? You like stunts? You play Assassin's Creed.
There's a guy in the modern age who's like a descendant of an assassin.
Like every Assassin's Creed game. But we don't know who he is. Maybe he's Desmond. I don't know. I don't care. I haven't been following the movie. It was 15 minutes of who gives a fuck. Of Michael Fassbender talking about how cool the universe is, and everyone else talking about how cool Michael Fassbender is. And I'm not a big Michael Fassbender fan. But face it, all you assholes. Video game movies are not good.
That Michael Fassbender doesn't sound like a real name. It sounds like the name of the popular kid it sounds like Chalky Studebaker. I feel like it's going to be the Assassin's Creed movie starring Chalky Studebaker.
And you want to know what else is shitty? Then they're like, and guess what? We have a Watch Dogs movie coming out. We think this is going to be the next big video game related blockbuster. And
When was the last?
Yeah, what was the first big video game related blockbuster? What was a good video game movie? What are you doing, Ubisoft?
Warcraft just came out, and everyone's like, Horde.
Yeah.
Definitely Horde.
Yeah, the orcs are cool, and everything else sucks. It's too bad that the orcs are such a tiny bit of it. I don't understand. I don't understand. Once again, who asked for this? Who asked for the Assassin's Creed movie? Watch Dogs 1 wasn't even reviewed all that well. everyone was like, yeah, okay, it's okay, I guess. It doesn't run very well. I don't think I'll buy a second one. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna make a movie out of that.
I mean, they did show Watch Dogs 2. It looks pretty cool. Hacking is a magic ray that does things.
Oh yeah, so in Watch Dogs 2, basically they took a page from Mr. Robot, which if you haven't watched Mr. Robot, you should watch Mr. Robot. But there's a hacker community called DedSec that is trying to take down Invite, I think they called it, which was
Facebook.
A social media conspiracy.
It's like they made Facebook more evil.
Yeah.
Which didn't take much.
Yeah. And they're rigging your election. They rode off the wave of like election hate that people are feeling right now.
It's like, do you hate this election cycle? Do you hate Facebook?
Buy our game. And you know what? It almost worked on me too.
Yeah, it's like, it was actually kind of interesting.
Yeah. They had an interesting black protagonist. Like, I give them a lot of credit for that. Like, there aren't enough minority protagonists in games. And also he was a nerd, which is another thing. Like,
I mean, he was a parkour action nerd.
But like, he still wasn't jacked. Like, he kind of inexplicably had hand-to-hand combat, parkour, and also automatic weapons. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, it was cool. You know, it was more hacking stuff. It was kind of cool because now, since you're part of like an anarchist hacking coalition, other people could help you, and you could like tag areas with like secret signs that show that you're part of DedSec. And people
you also just wear a hat that says DedSec.
But it looked all right. But without the whole jump into other players' games with your cell phone deal that they were, you know, making such a big deal about with the original Watch Dogs, and then it didn't end up happening. This once again looks okay. I gotta say, I'm a broken record now, but who asked for Watch Dogs 2? Watch Dogs 1 was an okay game that a bunch of people had problems with. And that, like, a bunch of people bought because they bought into the hype train, but, like, are we really gonna buy into the hype train again? Like, was this the best thing they had? Where the balls is Prince of Persia? Anyway, then they had their final game. So
the president of Ubisoft came out and said, "We've invented a whole new genre," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" It's like that's never a good sign.
And they're like, "This is gonna be a sports game, but sometimes the point of sports games is not to win. Sometimes the point of sports is just to do cool stuff with your friends." And I went, "No." Like, I mean, like maybe that's the point of certain games.
But it was certainly athletic.
Yeah, but basically,
like,
here's
maybe that's what people mean by extreme sports. Like maybe that when that's not on TV, it's just people doing cool stuff. So here's the game. It's a sort of an open world setting in the mountains in the Alps, and you're like a skier or a parasailer
or a base jumper or a snowboarder
or something like that,
or someone on a fucking snowmobile
in a highly it looked like a massively multiplayer, like it looked like this mountain range is a server or something.
Yeah, it was an MMO sports. So
yeah, which, like, I think the reason that nobody's done that before is that it's not a very good idea.
Well, okay, the game looked all right. Like, basically, there are a few built-in challenges, but then what you do is you just do stuff. Like, if you find a cool place to base jump off, you could just do that and set your route and be like, okay.
Yeah, and it auto-records your routes, so you can go back and say, oh, hey, I did this cool thing, look at this cool thing, now I want to look at this cool thing, now, I challenge you to copy this cool thing.
Yeah, so it's like, it's community-sourced missions and challenges, which is kind of cool, but Who asked for a massively multiplayer sports game with no goals in it? Who asked for that? Like,
yeah,
it's gonna make some people. It's gonna make like the people who like the SSX and like the Tony Hawk players and stuff like that really happy. But it's such a tiny bit of like of the gaming community right now.
And this was their closer. This is what they finished with.
Yeah.
This is what they wanted to wow us with at the end.
And in the end, actually, all I got from it was, yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's like, that. Maybe I've been ruined by indie games. I mean, my impression was, that's kind of cool. I'm glad it won't be $60. Oh wait,
but it's gonna be $60. Yeah,
or like $20 a month or something stupid.
I guess I don't know. I can't. There are times that I walk away from these press conferences and go, "That was shit. Everything you showed was shit." In fact, a good half of the EA press conference was shit. But this isn't shit. None of this is shit. None of this looked like it was actively bad. I mean, like, the movies I didn't care about. The graphics in the VR looked bad, but the gameplay looked okay.
The movies are probably actively bad.
Yeah.
Because they're video games adapted into movies, but you couldn't tell. They were just movie trailers.
The VR, like I said, gameplay looked good, even though the graphics looked bad. For Honor looked worse than it did last year, but didn't look bad. None of this looked bad, but all of this is like, I didn't ask for this. I don't know anybody who wants this. And in a super saturated season with like tons of shooters, like I think we're up to like 12 something shooters now. Tons of shooters, tons of indie games, tons of single player games, VR coming out, new consoles, which you heard me yell about, in the last episode. I don't know who has the money, or let's put it this way, I don't know who is putting any of the games shown from the Ubisoft press conference at the top of their priority list. Like, if you are a shooter fan, you are probably going to be into Quake or Overwatch or something, unless you are a military shooter fan, and then you're going to be into Battlefield or Call of Duty. And so I'm not sure where The Division or what's its bucket, Ghost Recon comes into that.
I mean,
like
Ghost Recon, like there's the first one that they pimped as a game instead of just dancing about Just Dance. Yeah. Like, I'm sure they would like to compete with the big military shooters.
For that matter, they just said that Fallout and Doom are coming to VR, so people are going to want that before Eagle Flight and Star Trek. Grow Up looks good. South Park: The Fractured Butthole looks good, so that might be at the top of people's list. Like, if you are really into South Park,
right? Or a humor gamer, or you want a tactical RPG this month, because those don't come out 12 at a time.
So that might be there. But even Watch Dogs 2, it's like there's been a million open world games. Like a million open world shooty stealth, do whatever you want games. I don't see that being on the top of anyone's list.
I see that losing to Bethesda's thing.
Yeah. So I don't know, I guess South Park was the game of this show.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, no, there was nothing bad about, I mean, in a sense, there was something bad about it. It was South Park. Cartman's superhero name is The Coon.
Well, that's been from the episodes. We all knew that was coming. But yeah, you either like South Park or you don't. And I really liked South Park: The Stick of Truth, so I'll probably end up liking this. So congratulations, Ubisoft. You were super awkward. You gave me a nervous breakdown. You made me want to buy a South Park game. I guess that's a victory? God damn it, Sony better show me something worth it right now. I mean, next time on No Nostalgia Filter.
Also, that's kind of, you go every time on No Nostalgia Filter.
Well, I'm also gonna go ugh next time on No Nostalgia Filter.